What have you been up to? What's
Oh,
going
just
on
got
this week?
done a couple individual workouts and yeah, man, get a little office work done, go grab some lunch, and then practice 2:30.
2:30. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
man.
That seems a little early.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's
Really?
perfect. Get these guys out of here before the sun goes down, and
Yeah.
we our student athlete dining hall is like right next door, so they can go straight to dinner and get out of here. So it's nice.
Nice. Yeah. What do they normally serve at that dining hall? Is it just like a free for all or like buffet style kind of where you have
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, you can do it. They do their own omelets and sandwiches and that type of stuff. And there's a salad bar and a hot bar, and yeah, it's a great. It's just for student athletes, so it's pretty nice.
So not for you. Is that what you're saying?
Not for me, no. When we have recruits in, we get to go eat over there like lunch or brunch or something. But
Yeah.
yeah, so we don't get any. I mean, we can go over there, but it ain't cheap.
I was gonna say, yeah, you probably got to pay, don't you?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So
Well, cool.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, what's going on? We're what? Just season's just started. About
yeah.
six
It's
days, really, right?
yeah. We got. We're into the swing of it, and guys are bringing their weights down and all that good stuff. And
Yeah.
we host our first tournament on November 2nd, so it's coming up pretty quick. 2 weeks from Sunday.
Isn't that crazy? How
It's
it
great.
just kind of sneaks up on you if you're not, kind of paying attention.
It is. It is wild. I can't believe we're halfway through October.
Yeah. What's the beginning of the season normally look like for you guys? I mean, or for you guys kind of taking it not easy, but kind of getting into the swing of things, or do you just hit it hard right away? I mean,
We've been going since early September, so it's not.
right.
We kind of eased into it, and now it's we're kind of in cruise control. Our guys, like I said, are bringing their weights down. So a lot of our work is getting done in the individual sessions in the mornings on Tuesdays and
Yeah.
Thursdays, and but yeah, as far as the practices are concerned, um, they're pretty for the most part cookie cutter, and these guys are getting sick of wrestling each other. They're ready to smash some other guys from other teams, and
Yeah.
just October's a tough month for especially the freshmen. The newness of Virginia Tech and the kind of worn off, and then the exam schedule starting to hit them a little bit, bringing their weights down, being away from home. That it's so getting them through this month into the competition season is a strong stretch for us to keep things fresh as we can and keep them motivated.
That's a good point. I mean, how do you approach that, or do you spend a little extra time with them, like after practice, talking to them, kind of seeing where they're at? I mean, that's like you said, that's freshman, incoming freshman. It's new. It's can be exciting, and you said it's wore off. I mean, what do you guys do, or you specifically that kind of helps bring them along? Not
Yeah,
get so down. Like, I mean,
yeah.
they might be
No,
getting beat up in the room, like.
it's where we're at a point where there's too many places to hide in the room, and the weather's changing, and it's wrestling season. It's a little earlier than the typical high school kid.
Mhm.
But yeah, trying to figure out how to get away from the monotony a little bit, throw in some games. We can go play soccer. Surprise them with something, and try and make it as fun as possible while also getting them ready to compete. It's definitely a slippery slope, but something that I think we try and pride ourselves in having those relationships with our guys and getting them over to our house and being with our families and getting them a home cooked meal and that type of stuff goes a long way. And I think we gave them last week off, like the last Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So allowed them to go home, see the family a little bit, kind of the last, I guess, break before we get this thing kicked off.
Yeah, I'm starting to really enjoy. It's been probably the last several years or so. Like you start to see people having more fun with wrestling, and that's been a real. It's been really nice to see, I guess, for lack of better words to use. But how do you guys keep it fresh? How do I mean, keep it light, keep it fun? You said you kind of try to make it fun. What do you guys do? I see
Yeah,
videos
I
of
think
people playing games and stuff. I mean.
Yeah, we kind of implemented some dodgeball, some different kind of rules and some dodgeball games, instead of the routine of running in circles and doing your calisthenics and all that good stuff. So, at
Okay.
least once or twice a week, we'll do some dodgeball. Um, I think, the monotony of, drill sets and hitting the same drills constantly, giving them some freedom to work on the things they want to work on. Um, and then trying to keep the live wrestling as fresh as possible. And then and like I said before, a random Tuesday that we feel that they're down. We've been reading them that they're down in the dumps a little bit. Maybe go hit that. We're like luckily we have all of our athletic facilities are pretty much right at our fingertips. So we'll go into the indoor football facility and set up goals and play soccer or something like that. Um, so yeah, man, it's still a hard freaking sport and the hardest sport there is.
Mhm.
But to be able to make it a game and figure out ways to get better and enjoy getting better and compare it to a pickup basketball game or a soccer game, allows us to hopefully keep the spirits up and get them to where they're relaxed and ready to rock when November 2nd comes around.
Yeah, give me a couple names that are actually like some freak athletes on the team that like no matter what game you're playing, they're probably going to be the first one picked if you do that, or they're probably going to be the best one out there.
Yeah. Dylan Campbell is a 33 pounder for us. He was a four-time Ohio State champion. He's a redshirt freshman this year. Probably is, probably the best athlete on the team. Um,
Wow. There we
yeah.
go.
And that's whether it's soccer, wrestling, or basketball, or even golf. Like he's a really, really good golfer. So
Really?
yeah, these guys love golf. That's for sure. That's a good way for them to get out and kind of be out in nature and do their own thing. But Dylan Campbell, Gage Wright's a freak. Another redshirt freshman. Caleb Henson's just going to find a way. He's a very athletic kid, but he's the ultimate competitor, so he's going to find a way. So we have a good amount of athletes on our team. We have some guys that are just wrestlers and they're really bad at other things. But we definitely have I think when Roby and I are going out recruiting, that's if you can find an athlete and they're a competitor at the same time, you're typically going to have some pretty good success.
How about this? Do you have any guys who would be good at diving?
It's funny because I was a diver in high school.
Exactly. That's why I'm
Yeah.
asking. I'm like, huh. Oh.
um, some of these guys are, it just takes some getting a little crazy and not having fear of hitting the water hard,
Mhm.
to be a good diver. So, I'd imagine there's a couple pretty good ones. We got a couple good swimmers. So, yeah, that we need to get them on the diving board. That's for sure.
Give me like a brief rundown of how like diving works. Like obviously you watch it at the Summer Olympics, or at least you see it come across, and you're just watching them do flips and stuff, and you like personally, I don't really understand what they're doing. I just, as long as they don't make a big splash, I
Yeah.
think we're good, right? I don't know, like, but what goes into diving?
And I think at my level, that was the goal is to just not make a big splash, regardless of what trick you're doing. And typically it was a pretty simple trick that I was performing. But yeah, just understanding, the concept of the board. And if you attack the board the way the board is supposed to be attacked, typically it's going to get you far enough out that you're not going to ever hit the board. I
Mhm.
think the fear of hitting the board is the biggest thing. And kind of understanding the walk up and how to hit that board precisely that you're going to go the highest that you possibly go, but also be far enough out that you're not going to hit the board. So, that's the way the diving board's built, is to spring you outward. So, typically you can do just about what you need to do, as long as you can keep you know, your eyes open to where to open up at the right spot instead of opening up, facing the sky. You're
Mhm.
opening up facing the water, which yeah, that helps.
Yeah. What did that help your wrestling, you think, a little bit? So, body, knowing how to your body like
Probably more
you know what I'm
just
trying to say.
getting my mind off of wrestling, right? As a
Oh,
as a
okay.
as a high school kid, it was something that I could check out. I love to fish and do stuff. Anything in the water. And to do that for my high school, and I was kind of a guy that they didn't have somebody. That's why they had seen, I was at some, I don't know, probably a birthday party or something, and one of the swimmers saw that I could just wing it out there and throw a double and not blink an eye. But um, and that's why I started to do it because they were forfeiting these points that at these swim meets because they didn't have anybody that dove, and so they asked me, you're going to score some type of points. So, it's going to be better than zero. So that's how it all started. And then, I ended up doing it for the last 2 years of my high school career. And it was something that I could check out of not going to wrestling practice. Typically I'd go to the pool and spend an hour or two, at swim practice or dive practice, and then go back to the wrestling room. But it was something for me to, kind of be able to unwind and do something that wasn't in the wrestling room.
How good were you?
I wasn't good. I
No.
wasn't. No, I didn't score 0 points, which helped the team, and that's
Hey,
all I needed. And I filled in
excellent.
at the relay races when needed, and so it was more, the camaraderie and we got that many more people at the wrestling matches because I was a part of the swim team, and
Ah.
doing my part, man, doing my part.
Yeah, and that could be important just for like at that age where just different crowd, meeting different people, just engaging in different ways, just all of it. I appreciate going out for different sports. I know like special, there's the big debate between do you specialize or not. But I just appreciate going out for a different sport, meeting different people that you probably would never hang out with otherwise. Um,
So,
so what about wrestling? Because you were born in what, Miami, and you're from Clearwater.
correct.
Is that correct? When did wrestling become kind of the focal point, or at least the start of your life? Because what's the wrestling scene like in Florida?
It's pretty. I mean, it's pretty individualized. I think it's obviously a state that the outdoor sports setting is much bigger than any other, and
Right.
I played football and baseball kind of growing up, but wrestling was always kind of my niche sport, and because my dad was a high school coach and was my coach all the way through high school. So yeah, it's like in Florida at that time, I guess that would be early 80s. There was no like junior high wrestling. Like I didn't wrestle folk style match till I was a freshman in high school. It was all AAU, USA wrestling, freestyle. We traveled everywhere in spring and summer. So kind of filling in the gaps of the times where there wasn't organized wrestling going on. I was, playing football or doing other sports. So and you just going to, follow my dad to high school practice and jumping in where I could. So that was kind of the thing, and that was kind of Brandon High School was a big deal in Tampa.
Yes, I
That
remember
big,
them.
that long streak, and so they were the only team. There was a couple teams in Miami that were pretty good, but before you got to high school, everything was club related or which was predominantly freestyle. So so yeah, and that's kind of the same way. I think there's a lot more junior high opportunities, folk style opportunities now as younger kids, and I think you're seeing better wrestling as a whole coming out of Florida. But we had some really good individuals coming out of the state and doing well at the college level when there was nothing. I mean, the closest college wrestling program after like 1986 or 87 when UF and Florida State and University of Tampa and all those teams dropped was like Tennessee Chattanooga. So that and like
Wow.
Citadel and um those were the closest opportunities. So there was no wrestling, within at any state touching the state of Florida. So yeah, that made it hard. So there wasn't a team that you could root for in state or close by um that allowed you to see yourself doing it at the next level. So you had to wait for the amateur wrestling news to show up on your doorstep or whatever magazine was coming in, man. It was like Christmas. You get that East Bay magazine and you get the amateur wrestling news and you're
East Bay.
oh
Oh
man,
my
those are
gosh.
great. Those are great. Those are great days.
Wow.
You got those. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a blast from the past. How did you kind of keep your interest then? Like, because back then I say like You couldn't watch it on TV really. There was no YouTube, especially in your area. Like at least in Iowa, we were spoiled where, we had Iowa Public Television. We could see the Iowa duels, but like, I mean, you had no access really to collegiate or any
Yeah.
upper level wrestling to watching.
Yeah, and I think that was, kudos to my dad and, getting me places where, not that we ever went to an NCAA tournament or watched really much college wrestling, but being able to get me, like I said, you had to travel if you wanted to get any type of competition. So, we were all, once the summer hit, we were, hitting every camp that we could possibly go to. He was working any camp that he could to be able to drag me along. And typically those were college camps, the Jay Robinson. We went out to Iowa twice.
Nice.
And there was a couple guys that kind of got out as I was growing up that I kind of looked up to that went to wrestle in college. So I was able to follow those guys. There's a kid that was about 4 years older than me. His name was Dustin D'Annunzio. He was a two-time All-American at Harvard. And he did a gap year at Harvard. So it was actually my junior year. He came home and just flew in training partners like constantly. Um, and so to be able to train with him and watch his success the next level was pretty neat. So that kind of allowed me to really kind of, I knew I wanted to do it the next. I knew I wanted to make an Olympic team. That was my whole goal. And college wrestling was kind of the avenue to go to make that happen. So yeah, wrestling in the summers. Actually, Coach Manning was the head coach of back then it was the what was Espoir or some whatever the U20
Really?
is now or U7. I don't even know what it was, but he was the head assistant at Oklahoma, and that's kind of the guy that started kind of the recruiting process. I had always wanted to go to Penn State before Penn State was Penn State. I wanted to go there because Joe Paterno. I was a big college football
Really?
guy. College football was everything, and I loved Penn State because of Joe Paterno and it kind of came down to them and Oklahoma, and Oklahoma it just fit right when I went on my visit.
I mean, they have a good football program.
Yeah,
You
no, it,
know,
it was fun.
that's good.
It was pretty wild. I went on the visit, and I knew Switzer and following the hurricanes. It was always the hurricanes in the
Oh
Super
yeah.
Bowl of the day, um and I went on my visit, and it was in like the dog days, like the worst times of Oklahoma football. I think they lost like 63-7 on my
Ooh.
recruiting to Kansas, and Kansas.
Ooh.
But literally, not 3 years later, they hired Stoops. They hired Stoops my freshman year, and literally 2 years later, they won the national championship. So it was pretty cool and surreal. As big a college football fan as I was, for that to go, they pretty much went from worst to first in a
Yeah.
matter of 3 years. So kudos to Iowa. Or he was a Hawkeye, Coach Stoops.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. He was on that Hayden Fry staff. Man, I'm just thinking when you said like you traveled to camps and stuff, I'm like, you traveled. Okay, like there's a difference between like, being in the Midwest and you're traveling to camps, You're from like the tip of Florida, like the bottom to like it takes you a day just to get out of Florida.
Exactly. Exactly. No, I remember one
Oh,
one one summer we did a 3 week stretch. We drove to Virginia, did a camp,
oh,
did a camp in Virginia, then drove to Nebraska, did a camp in Nebraska. I mean, that's like a 28-hour drive, like crazy, like ridiculous.
yeah.
Then after the Nebraska camp, in it was all to get us to Billings, Montana, where the AAU nationals were. And of course, I wrestled Mike Zadek probably 100 times. Every time, like these AAU national events, and surely it was in his backyard in Billings, Montana. And I think it was the first time I ever beat him. But yeah, it was like a 3 week, and then we hit Yellowstone. Everything had to be wrestling related to do any type of vacation. So we hit
Mhm.
Yellowstone and did all that stuff. But yeah, man, that's kind of how we grew up and what you know, my poor sister and mom, man, they had drug along and everything.
Wow, they came with too?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It was
Wow. What was the
family
vehicle?
affair.
What was the vehicle?
It was a Ford Aerostar. like a minivan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. What'd you guys do to pass the time? Normally, like, when I talk to people, they go with like buddies or something, and they're like kind of messing around. But what did you do with your sister?
I
And
remember just
mom?
hitting every man. We ran to like Manhattan, Kansas. We almost got shot there for something. I think my dad like almost hit a jaywalker or something and pulled a gun on us. And um, but there, yeah, we hit all the cool stuff that there is around whatever place we were at, Virginia. We hit a bunch of different historical spots. All the different Civil War stuff, and then DC, and we driving to it was in Blair, Nebraska. I don't know where that is, and
Mm-hmm.
specific to Omaha and that type of
Yep.
stuff. I know we did some pretty cool stuff. Obviously, ran through Manhattan, Kansas, and almost got shot there. And all kinds of Indian tribes, and it was,
Hmm.
it was definitely, something that looking back on it, I probably should do that with my girls at some point because this stuff you remember. You don't remember flying to places and stuff you
Right.
buy at the thrift store in the airport. So yeah, you're talking me into a, a cross country journey next summer, I think.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I think once, doing that once or twice, like, sure. That's where memories are made, like I'm sitting here thinking like, I know this is getting in your bag a little bit, but, do you have a couple things that like you were, oh man, we're driving through this town, but then you saw something really cool? Like in Minnesota, there's like the Jolly Green Giant or something like randomly somewhere, and so I don't know.
I like the stuff that you run through, the Mount Rushmores and the Old Faithful and like
Oh
these
yeah.
things, like it's like you're never gonna like, and that's the stuff that we were able to do and see, and some of the stories we still, there's like you didn't see deer in Florida, and some of the like how it the amount of deer I see today in Virginia on a daily basis is like bizarre to me. But I remember there's specific stories of my mom losing her mind because she saw a deer in Yellowstone, which is like they're like cats and dogs. but uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was a big deal. So
Did you did you see Old Faithful erupt?
yeah,
I don't know if
yeah,
that's
yeah,
ever.
yeah, we hit that, watch the geyser blow up, and
Yep.
seeing the buffalo, and it's just like it's tough, like especially growing up in Florida, that's just bizarre to us,
Hmm.
and it's something that I that's some places that my kids need to go. So yeah,
Yeah.
we haven't been going to
Uh,
Disneyland. We got to go to I think we're going to Disneyland this at Christmas. So excited.
hey, how many times have you been there?
I've never been there. I
What?
grew up there. It was like but I never really, I think we did like a senior trip there, that was paid for. So we went there as a senior in high school for like a night. And I think it was like a midnight some deal. But yeah, I don't know, never never hit the old Disneyland.
Wow.
So now I hold it like it's like that's prideful to me. But now I'm like my girls know every song. I like my wife's like we're going to Florida for Christmas. Let's just go for a day and or 2 days or whatever. I say all right, let's do it.
Gotcha. All right. I mean, you don't have to go. You can keep this streak going.
I know. I want to, but it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Three women got me overruled.
It'll be fun though. I'm
Yeah,
like,
no doubt.
especially even though, at your age, our age, um, it's still fun. Like, were you a Disney kid too, even back in the day?
Not really. I don't
Oh,
think.
really?
I don't know. Yeah. I'm sure I watched. I watched it all. I watched the Mickey
Yeah.
Mouse Clubhouse. Yeah, and it was all right there, and it was still. I just never. I don't know.
Yeah.
Parents weren't. They weren't going to drop that kind of dime to. They spent enough on me in wrestling, and so yeah.
Yeah. I read an article that you actually almost quit wrestling. Was
Yeah,
that like were you like serious about to quit wrestling, or was it like in the moment you were just upset because it was at like the state tournament your freshman year?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
were you serious, or were you just upset at the moment? The moment just was, got to you.
Probably both. I guess hindsight's 2020, and you can say that that was the end, or that was just me being a um, poor sport, but yeah, I was at a point where I was just like, this is, you know, everything, and that's as a 15 or 16-year old, and everything you strove for was taken away from you, or not taken away from you. You didn't earn. Yeah, it's a hard point, an emotional point, and um, yeah, I don't. If I wouldn't have had someone in my corner, my mom, say, "Yeah, get your ass up and you're gonna make weight and you're gonna wrestle, the backside, whether you
Mhm.
like it or not, then you can quit after that." Um, if I would have been done right there, it probably would have been done. Um, so,
Wow.
but yeah, and I've had instances like that that I just think, being able to have faith and rely on something bigger than yourself. I just, whether it was, you know, not, wanting to be done because I just felt like I wasn't supposed to do this, whether, it was after 2008 or 2010, I was going to hang him up, and then, you know, things happen, and your mind changes, and you trust in something bigger than yourself, and that tells you, hey, you gotta pull your boots up, and you're doing this not for just yourself, but for bigger and better things. And um, you know, I yeah, I if I would have not come back and wrestled in that constellation, I don't know that my dad would have, he might have been done with coaching too. So but
Wow.
kudos to him for saying you finished what you
Mom,
started.
yeah, mom saved the day.
Yep, yep, good. Who knows?
Um, yeah. When you get into that mindset, because I feel like that, I shouldn't say every wrestler because I don't want to make a generalized statement like that, but most guys feel that at some point, like that crosses their mind, whether it's real or not, it crosses their mind. You know, um, what's like everyone's different. So like, what's the plan of action when that crosses one of your athlete's mind, or they come to you and they're like, Coach, I don't know if I can do this anymore.
Yeah, and I think it's typically that it's hopefully it's not the second day of the NCAA tournament, or it's something
Yeah.
where we need to make a decision ASAP. I think being able to give those the more you push it, the typically the regression, and then going the other way is going to happen. So I think being able to give them the autonomy to get away, um, kind of figure out what their motivation is, what their priorities are, and if this isn't one of them, then I tell guys all the time, wrestling's a shitty hobby, man. You're either in it for the right reasons, or it's really not worth it. That you can put your mind and heart to a lot bigger and better things, and take what you learned in the sport, and be a success at no matter what you put your mind to. So yeah, I think giving them the ability to get away, and whether it's a day or 48 hours, and do some soul searching, and figure out this is what they want to do. And typically they come back around, and or it's as quick as, let me just get through this practice and understand what I'm trying to do here, and that this isn't that big of a deal. I just had a conversation with our 25 pounder this morning, and he's like, it's been a decade since I got in my car and was like, I just don't feel it today. I don't think I'm gonna go in. I think I'm gonna go back to bed. But then he's like, I gotta go do this. What am I doing? I need to go. I didn't sleep good, but just get me through this next hour and a half. And sure enough, he's taking his stuff off, and he's getting ready to get in the steam and recover a little bit. And he's like, I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I did it. But this is the first time I've matured enough knowing that, this isn't the end all. I know I can come in and get this done, and be done with it. And he's a two-time All-American, ranked, top three in the country right now. So if it's going on in his head, it's going on in a lot of other guys' head.
Yeah. What about you when, I feel like there were a lot of points, not a lot of points, but there were several points throughout your career from that moment in your freshman year to, 2012 when you eventually made the Olympics that there were points where you were like, I'm done. Am I done? Should I be done? Like, how did you kind of keep going? I mean, Like the other thing was you graduated in 2002 and you made your Olympic team in 20 like
Yeah.
I just yeah, I'm just fascinated by all that.
Yeah, I think the faith in the Lord and him putting different scenarios in my as opportunities for me, the in 2008, I I focused for 2 years just on wrestling, and I probably had my worst results. Um, and after 2008, I had a job back home in Florida, and I was gonna move home and be done with it. And I took the opportunity to be Doug Schwab's training partner in Beijing, um, and kind of the changeover with brands back to Iowa City happened, and um, obviously he was with Doug in China, and he offered me a job, and that kind of changed. And at no point did I think I was going to take the job, but I called my wife, and she's like, "Well, let's pray about it." And we Skyped the next day, and she's like, "For some reason, I think we got to go to Iowa." And I was like,
Wow.
"Yeah." And that was the last place that, we were already packed up, ready to go from Colorado to Florida. And, things change, and that opportunity arose. And um, like 6 months later, I'm in Tom Brand's office, and he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you can't be done wrestling. I'm wrestling with Doug Schwab, I'm wrestling with Metcalf, all these guys every day. Um, not technically, because I was the strength and conditioning coach. I was
Mhm.
on the at the in the Hawkeye Wrestling Club. But
Mhm.
and he told me you need to wrestle, and this is like January. And I said, well, Tom Brands, you're the man. I'm gonna wrestle. You got, and so I started that journey back again to try wrestling. To try to make it a team again, and that got me going. And so that was that opportunity, and then the following year. So I was second the next 2 years, both times, like on ridiculous ball grabs and broken
Oh,
box and just all this BS. And I
yeah.
was like, I can't do this anymore. That's the definition of insanity. I'm doing the same
Hmm.
the same things happening over and over, and nothing's changing. And then I'm done in 2010 and 2011. I have my daughter Chloe, was born with special needs, and and everything I'm telling him, like, babe, you can do whatever you want, and I'm rocking her to sleep. This is a hurdle that we can, you can get through. You can do anything. And, just kept hitting my brain, like, I'm telling my daughter this, and I'm done because I took second. This 2012 is right there. I'm done regardless. What am I? So I had taken the 2011 off, and it just hit me like I got to go one more run. And so different opportunities and different mindsets, and things happen, and maturity, um and next thing you know, you're back in the fire. And it all worked for a reason and purpose. And yeah, in 2012, I knew that, when I went there, I was as prepared as I could ever be. I was as confident as I ever could be. If I won or lost, I was going to be, fulfilled. And I couldn't say that I should have done this or should have done that. So, yeah.
Yeah, what was the difference between 2012 and 2008? That, like, because it sounds like in 2008, from the outside lens, looking from above, that should have been the year you were most prepared. You had wrestled for 2 years straight, like you had put everything into the wrestling basket, but then you just said you wrestled probably your worst tournament. And now, fast forward 4 years, you are sort of, kind of change. You're dabbling in wrestling a little bit, and now you're making another run and you make the team, and you're like, that's the most confident I've ever been. I mean,
Yeah, believing in what you were doing. As I went to the training center to because I couldn't figure out the Iowa style. Technically, I thought I was always the better guy. But for some reason, I would lose to a Bill Zadok or a Doug Schwab, or for a year I lost to Metcalf. And then so I wanted to kind of get in, for the lack of, get in Terry Brand's brain and figure out what's missing? Why am I not getting it done and losing to these guys that I know I'm technically better than? And, I always can score a ton of points, but for some reason at the end, I can't get over the hump. So, so I think that I'm not a guy that can, and there's a lot of guys on our team that's the same way. Like, I can't just focus on one thing. You almost, drive yourself nuts just focusing on, wrestling or, focusing on myself. And, I think college wrestling is something that allows me to do so many other things and not have to focus as much on myself, especially when I was training. So I think I did a better job preparing because I had to, you had to have some time management and micromanage a little bit, to get yourself ready. And those 2 years, yeah, I was able to travel the world and wrestle on all these teams and do some pretty cool stuff. But um, it was all about me, and that, you know I wouldn't trade it for the world because I re-met my wife, and I figured out why I got over the hump to where, I knew what Iowa was doing was nothing different than it was just about where my head was at, going into those things. So I think I got to be able to make the team and beat Brett Metcalf into 2012. I had to go through those 2 years of soul searching and figuring out what makes, an Iowa wrestler tick, I guess.
Hmm.
And so yeah, that was, I think, the main thing for me was I'm just not very good at just focusing on myself. I need to do other things and surround myself with other people. And at that age, at 33, I had to be with a certain head coach, in Mark Cody, who was big on recovery and, not grinding yourself into the ground. At 33 years old, I had to be able to take a full day off. I had to, not wrestle hard every single day. And if I was anywhere else, I don't know that I could have had that patience and mindset going into, an event like that. I felt like a lot of times I would overtrain, and he made sure that that wasn't going to happen. So, um,
Hmm.
yeah.
You said you re-met your wife, so kind of give me the origin of that.
So I met my wife the first day of college. She was a gymnast at Oklahoma. She's originally from Colorado. So first day of college, we were friends all through college, dated each other's friends, never dated.
How'd you meet her? What do you mean you met her your first day of college? How'd you meet
We
her?
were literally like a week before. So we were signing up for cable in the dorms. You had to sign up
Okay.
for cable in the dorms. Um, so and we lived in different dorms, but yeah, so we met. She was a gymnast, so obviously we did a lot of stuff together um throughout our careers, but never dated. And then she moved back to Colorado Springs where she's from, and went to cosmetology school. And when I moved back to the training center, which is in Colorado Springs, we reconnected through a mutual friend, and then it was all over.
Wow.
Yeah. So 10 years, literally
Huh.
10 years later, 1996 or 97 to 2007, we had been friends, and but then didn't and never dated till then, and it was all over once we reconnected.
Yeah, okay. So she's from Colorado. That was my next question was where she was from because you kind of you were gonna go back to Florida and then you ended up in Iowa and she was just along for the ride the whole time, really?
Yep. Yep. So
Wow. Um, yeah, I heard that story that you were gonna go to Florida and you were gonna basically be a teacher and take over the high school program from your dad.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's not a bad, not that wouldn't have been a bad deal,
Not
like
at all. Not at all.
crazy how just
Yeah.
a left
A,
turn, man, just
a Skype in Beijing,
a
China,
Skype.
everything.
Gosh, Skype. Speaking of Skype, you so you make the Olympics, and apparently you guys didn't anticipate you were going to make the Olympics because you were pregnant at the same time, or your wife was
Well,
pregnant.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, did
Yeah,
you
yeah, it wasn't
watch?
it wasn't good planning. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, did you? I'm just wondering, for one, I mean, you said you had the confidence, but why were you going to have a baby if you were going to be in the Olympics?
Well, I was retired then.
Oh,
when it
you
was,
really?
I wasn't that was it wasn't even in the conversation. So like literally, yeah, like 9 months before I was gonna make a run and try and make the team. So yeah, no, it was bad timing, but that's something you can't plan for it. Always, and yeah, and she was like due the day I was supposed to wrestle. So yeah, it was interesting, and luckily Beckett came early, and I was able to hustle home from a training camp at the training center. Uh,
Oh, so you were able to be there.
yeah, so I was able to be there, and literally I left 2 days later.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, I just have a rock star as a wife, I think, because Chloe, our first, I was at coaching at Wisconsin, and literally a day later, I was driving from Madison to Cedar Falls for the national duels in the Unidome. 2 days after my first child was born, and then 2 days after Beckett was born, I was flying to London to wrestle. So
Wow. Well, that's great that she came early. I mean,
yeah,
I was
yeah.
worried.
Oh yeah,
I saw you,
I was planning on a Skype
right?
from where were we in like Belarus. We were doing a training camp after the opening ceremonies, and we had it all kind of set up to where we had a Wi-Fi, the good Wi-Fi, and we could do it from there. So luckily, she came early, which is exciting.
Yeah. Well, the first, your first child, Chloe, um, they didn't give you like some paternity leave or anything? Like, what's up with that?
There's no yeah, college wrestling. So once again, that was bad timing. Having a child in the middle of winter and wrestling season, not ideal. But it worked out, and so yeah. There's no yeah. I was going to be with my guys,
Yeah.
one way or another, whether I had to load her up and take it, which wasn't. It was like that. Yeah, the winners out there are a whole nother level. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously,
Yeah. What is I wanted to ask about the Olympics and what that is like. I mean, I've had a couple Olympians on and I failed to kind of pick their brain about the whole experience, Can you kind of give me a peek behind the curtain of the opening ceremonies, the Olympic Village, and just like, were you able to kind of take that in a little bit while also having your sights focused on competing?
yeah. And I was lucky enough to go in 2008 with Schwab.
Mhm.
So, as a sports, junkie, I wanted to do as much as I possibly could. And there's only so much you can do, once everyone's over there and preparing, the guy I guess you were matched up to go over there with. Um, so, I was able to go watch Phelps swim. I was able to go watch Usain Bolt. I was all the everyone gets a bunch of comp tickets as an Olympian. You get comp tickets, like you can go to different venues, go see different sports. So not many of the guys are going to do that. So they're giving it to all of us. So I'm able to go out and there's like a swap meet. So you can swap like 10 handball tickets for one track and field ticket or
Oh,
so I'm trying,
okay.
I'm out there getting my hustle on and finding the tickets and going to watch USA basketball and that type of stuff. So 2008 I was able to do a lot of what I would have, typically wanted to do. 2012 opening ceremonies were the best part of, and I think if you ask most Olympians, it's the best part of, if you're not ending up on the award stand, that's the best part of the whole experience because it's, you're with the best athletes, you're with, there's billions of people watching. It's something that you grew up watching. Um, that sense of nationalism and being able to represent your country and it's just there's it would it's goosebumps. I mean, something that I'll never be able to replicate, and was really awesome. And then and then it's the hard part about wrestling is we're the last event of the Olympics, and I think they do that for a reason because it's it's kind of the first sport, and So I was literally the last day, which kind of stinks. So, you're able to we were in the village for a little bit, and the village is awesome, same type of thing, but you're more protected. Like there's not media in there. You're able to really be, and I think that's why, some shenanigans typically end up happening. But there's not, because you're in this little utopia of awesome athletes, and there's not a million people around them that, the to we're all the same, which is
Yeah.
just pretty neat. And so that was super cool. It's kind of wild to think, the Olympic Games is the biggest part of our sport, but to go to the NCAA wrestling tournament, it's like it's there's nothing better than the NCAA wrestling tournament. And but being, it was great. My family was there. There's like a Team USA house that, everything's free and it's cool. There's free haircuts and free, it's just a big party house. And um, you know, everything about it is over the top, and just the way it's supposed to be. And uh, yeah, something that I'll never forget, especially
Mhm.
that opening ceremonies, and the first time walking out to a mat, hearing your name, hearing, from the United States of America. And so yeah, pretty cool.
So it's actually kind of probably a good thing that you went in 2008 because that aura of the
Right,
games was sort of put in the past. Like, okay, I did all the things I wanted to do, and now the second time you're like, all right, business.
right.
Did you take Schwab as your partner then to like kind of repay the favor?
No, no, I tried to take Metcalf and he declined me. Um, I think it was definitely, I don't know, for whatever reason it was. And then like 2 or 3 days before we left, he tried to jump back, and I was just like, no, man, but he ended up coming over anyhow. So
Oh,
Jordan Oliver was my partner,
okay.
which is pretty legit partner to have.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, it was great. And Jameel Kelly was kind of my personal coach, and so it was great.
yeah. And you said your family came over. Like, did Beckett come
No,
too
my
then?
no, my wife and daughter did not come. Just
Ah,
yeah, my sister, and there's probably 30, 40 people, but unfortunately my wife and
ah.
yeah, didn't get to make it.
Yeah. Um, that's okay. But I wanted to ask about making the team real quick. You know, what was that feeling like? I know it's been a little while, but I mean it's sort of like the euphoria of making the team is almost as great. I don't want to say as great, but like, I mean, obviously winning is the ultimate, but making the team is like what was that experience like? Just even accomplishing something that you set out your whole life to do.
Yeah, it was out of body type experience, because I did, and I say, regardless if I won or lost, I don't know, I had this real feeling that this was the time. And and just set up the way, I didn't have an easy route, but I just knew that the way that it went, that it was kind of a build up to, obviously it was going to be Metcalf in the finals. That's just how it was supposed to happen. And
Yes.
Carver Hawkeye, place he had never lost. Um, it was as perfect a setup as it could have been. Um, and yeah, it was just that. And I had a bunch of family there, and I think the confidence and making it become reality, and the amount of seconds and thirds that I had taken leading up to that, like you said, the 10 years leading up to, I think I made 8 national teams, which is top three, but I'd never been the guy uh,
Hmm.
until that last run. So yeah, it was it was probably the moment, as much as the Olympic Games was cool and something that I'd always dreamed of. It was, making that team in that venue, the amount of fans that were in there, knowing that I had been there. I coached there 3 years earlier. So I knew the ins and outs of Iowa City and
Hmm.
Coalville, and where I was going to cut weight, and where, it was right. It was where it was supposed to happen. And yeah, it was something that I'll never forget, and probably is the wrestling on the stage in London was great, but there's nothing better than that feeling of making the team in Carver Hawkeye.
Yeah. I mean, what a story, like it just only emphasizes like it can be your time. You just never know, but if you keep grinding, like you can make it happen, a lot of people think like as you get older, your time has passed, but you were 30, you were 33 when you made your team,
Yep.
I mean, so some of these guys that are coming through and they're coming up short, like just keep going, I guess, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, keep going, no doubt. And if you still got that fire burning in your heart,
Yeah.
you just never know. And luckily I didn't have these freaking high school kids barking down. I mean, God, these kids they're savages. So it's pretty cool to see how young these kids can wrestle at such a high level. So
Yeah.
um, I think I was a couple years before like the Aaron Pico and those
Yeah.
type of guys. But yeah, man,
Pico.
it's not getting any easier to make those teams with these young studs running through.
Yeah. Um, I want to backtrack here just a little bit. So you win, you go through Florida, you win three titles. Did you go like nationally and wrestle at some of those bigger national tournaments to get more seen
Yeah,
since you're from the
all the time. Yeah, that's all that I could do. I was
yeah.
hitting all those regionals, and then obviously the Fargos, and before Fargos, it was like in Columbia, Missouri, and those things. So
Really?
I was always fifth or sixth, or and then my senior year I won Fargo, which was a big deal.
Yeah, and then that catapult you kind of onto the scene of kind of the upper echelon of schools then.
Yeah, well, I'd already committed. Um,
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't, so I think I was seventh or sixth or seventh my junior year in Fargo, uh,
Hmm.
with some, it was a legit weight class, and then nowadays they don't not many seniors, not as many seniors I should say wrestle in Fargo, but like I wrestled Mike Zadek and he was going for his fourth or fifth Fargo title, and I wrestled him in the finals my senior year, so it just solidified I guess Oklahoma's uh, confidence in me, so that helped.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
you go to Oklahoma, and what was that? Kind of give me a snapshot of that experience. Two-time All-American, kind of, one of those stories where you kind of came up short again, but still, I mean,
Yeah,
fourth and
no, and it
second,
was definitely, not, and that was the thing, like talking about high school, and I always wanted to make an Olympic team, and it was almost like there was college was a vehicle to keep me wrestling and get me an education,
Mhm.
and I didn't really put a lot of emphasis into it until probably the end of my junior year, to where I don't know, I kind of went through the process and didn't focus enough and do the things that I needed to do to be successful, as successful, as I could have been, in my college years. So met some of my best friends, and still have some amazing relationships, but um, I don't think I put as much into, and maybe it's because I didn't have a foundation of folk style. It wasn't that, so, I didn't put as much emphasis on being as great as I could possibly be at the folk style level, which now, I love me some folk style wrestling, and I wish I would have done a better job in college, but yeah, it was, super cool. It was a place that I didn't see myself ever going to. And my high school idol, um, and really junior high, was a guy named David Kilgard, Council Bluffs, Iowa,
Hmm.
Lewis
Yeah.
Central guy. Um, and out of nowhere, he chose to go to Oklahoma instead of, the Iowas or the Iowa States, as probably the best high school wrestler. Um, Definitely in that class, it was 96, but also, one of the best of all time. I mean, he was a
Right.
stud. And he uh he chose to go to Oklahoma, and that kind of like, wait, why is he going
Yeah.
there? And he was all Iowa style. That guy was, a brash dude that wrestled hard and had a cardio level like no other. And so he was my host on my visit, and um obviously Jack Spates can talk with the best of them. And so it made it work. And plus he had Mark Manning on the staff as well. So Mark Manning can talk with the best of them as well. So like, I was done. It was a done deal. And, I actually didn't have a weight class. I just blindly knew this is the place I was supposed to go to. And luckily
Wow.
the weights changed my freshman year. Unfortunately there was some weight cutting fatalities, and
Yeah.
they added the 7 pounds to every weight class. And so it actually opened up a weight class for me in between Michael Leitner and David Kilgore, two studs. So yeah.
Wow. When when did Oklahoma even start to become, I'm curious now, a part of the picture? I mean, you said you never really gave them a time of day, and all of a sudden you're going there. Like,
Yeah, it was Mark Manning, man. He was like I said, he was the head
yeah, that
head
guy.
assistant coach of a a junior world team. And I was the alternate. Once again, I lost in the finals, so I was the alternate, but I went to the training camp. And he said, I really like what I see. And this is July or August of going into my senior year in high school. And um a couple trips down, a couple Jack Spates guitar in my living room, song and dance. Next thing I know, after my visit, I knew that was a place for me to be. So, yeah.
Yeah. Um, I want to ask you a couple things here. I'll let you go here in a little bit. But you were recently at a camp in Florida over the summer, and you were in a sweatshirt, and it's the summer.
Hmm.
What are you doing in a sweatshirt in the summer in Florida at a wrestling camp? What? Oh my God!
Yeah, I typically, if I can wear sweats, I'm gonna wear sweats. I don't know. I just feel I'm getting my bones are old, so I got the faster I can get warm is usually a good thing. It
Mhm.
I have to get my joints warmed before I'm able to function pretty much. So that's usually a big thing of it. But yeah, I don't know why I was wearing a sweatshirt. I'll always wear sweatpants, but sweatshirt.
Mhm.
Yeah, you caught me on an off day, I guess. But yeah, I
Yeah.
gotta get warm, dude. It's like, I'm 47 now, and yeah, I still try and roll around as much as I can. But if I'm not warm, it's not pretty.
Yeah, and maybe you took the sweatshirt off as the practice went on or the camp went on, but just in that moment, I'm like,
Yeah, it can't happen. It's
what
probably 100
the
degrees. The humidity, it's come on.
heck?
I gotta do better. Gotta do better.
Being a college football fan like you are, one of my favorite, and I've never experienced it, but it's on my bucket list, is Enter Sandman at Virginia Tech.
Mhm.
Um, it gives me chills, like when I see it on like a video or something. What is that like? You being a big college football fan, what is that experience like? Enter Sandman at night, at Virginia Tech.
Yeah, it's unlike any other, man. Obviously I grew up. I went to a couple Miami Hurricane games, Florida State,
Oh,
went to Oklahoma. So a lot of those games, the Cotton Bowl, and went to a
dang. Okay.
University of Tennessee game against Oklahoma. So, and Wisconsin is when it's jumping in the third quarter there, they play that jump around. It's
Hmm.
nuts. But yeah, man, that first 10 minutes before kickoff in Lane Stadium, I'm looking at it right now. It's something special, man. And when they play Inner Sandman and then they cut off the music and the whole crowd is singing it, acapella.
Hmm.
Is it acapella? Is that the word?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, it's dude, it's awesome. Fireworks. It's something that you gotta see for yourself because places like Kinnick and all, it's great because I love college, so I get to go to I've been to all these
Yeah, yeah.
places. Um, but there's nothing like when people are amped up for Virginia Tech football and then Metallica was here this summer too, so that was even
Really?
more intense. I mean, it was like it was awesome. It was the first time they've ever played in there, so it was pretty cool, pretty epic. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's intense, man. It's really cool.
Yeah. You got to be just like a kid again, you know. Like I said, you know, with as big of a football fan you are, and man, you've probably been to some pretty sweet atmospheres. Like you said, Miami, Florida State, Oklahoma, your
Wisconsin
Madison.
beat Ohio State when they were ranked number one, and I've been to some pretty cool games. But yeah, that's and now it's like if there's not recruits in town, I'm gonna go straight to my couch and watch it from my.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I
kind
go
of.
to enough games and entertain enough in that stadium, so I'm like, okay, we'll sit at the house and watch this one.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Well, we started the podcast here just talking about the season, and it's kind of on its way. What are you looking most forward to? What do you look most forward to as a coach as the season approaches? I mean, you've been in the coaching realm for a long time now. Is there something that you always look forward to? That first practice, that first duel? I mean, is there something that sticks out to you?
A lot of the times it's the freshman class, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you spend 2 years, now it's 2 years. Back in the day it was only a year, but 2 years now recruiting these guys and creating relationships and trying to get them down here as much as possible to work with them and just to see their maturity and how they continue to get better and better and how their minds change um and just it's like you said, like Christmas is coming November 2nd, and being able to watch, some of these freshmen that we've we've been all over and built these awesome relationships with, just to watch them go out there and do their thing. And this year's class is special, and we have six guys that I think can be game changers when they get their opportunity in the lineup, whether it's this year or the following year. And I know there's probably three or four of them that should be wrestling the NCAA tournament this year as freshmen and
Wow.
turning heads and trying to get on the stand as true freshmen. So that's exciting for us, and we have older guys that are just as capable, and to see those guys continue to make steps, but to see these freshmen finally get their opportunity and get here, get to Blacksburg, get through this month of October to where they can let it all go in November and take it through March, is the exciting part for me personally, because recruiting is a big part of what I do, and those relationships started you know literally 2.5 years ago, and to see them come into fruition and take their first step and put that Virginia Tech singlet on, and just the pride that they come in with is exciting, and they are amped up to represent. They're done wrestling their teammates.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's exciting for me. And then that the Eddie Ventrescas and the Caleb Hensons and the guys that are building to be the best and have already run through this transition, and just seeing
Mhm.
their maturity as well from freshmen to where they are now is pretty doggone cool. And to see what we've built in the last since Coach Roby took over as the head coach, 9 years. This is our ninth season, which is pretty wild.
Wow.
This is by far the longest I've been anywhere, and somewhere I plan to be for a long, long time. To see the stability and the depth that we've built, before we had nothing like this, and now it's we got some pretty strong wrestle offs coming, and guys trying to figure out who's going to be the guy. And we're two or three deep at some weights that you know
Oof.
that are got some guys that are really good, so excited for that.
Yeah, that's a blessing and somewhat, I don't want to say it's
uh,
a curse, but like you're also like, man, there's only 10 spots and that just kind of sucks, you know, because someone's going to get crushed, you
yep.
know. Do you still lace up the shoes every now and again or?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
I
okay.
do a lot more sparring and drilling, but when opportunity knocks and I need to fill in for somebody or do some, they're most of the little guys now, not so much the big guys. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's I enjoy it. I hate running. I hate I'm not a big cardio guy, but rolling around is something that I still enjoy to do. And getting a feel for some situations is you can't, nothing takes its place. You can't see it happening or can't feel how it feels when you're watching him do it on someone else. So being able to be in there and feel it yourself, I think the experience and uh, being able to feel that helps a bunch and critiquing what our guys are trying to do.
Yeah. Um, Lastly for you here, you've had some big recruits come in, you
Mhm.
know. But this last one here, a dual commitment. I mean, with Bo Bassett and Melvin Miller, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention them. What was that like, as somebody who, gets recruits in all the time and people commit, like, were you just like out of your mind when that happened? Because like 6 months ago or 8 months ago, it was a done deal. They weren't, I mean, Melvin put out his top 10 or whatever, and Virginia Tech wasn't even there. And now all of a sudden, I mean, a lot has changed. And now here they're coming, they're committed. I mean, what a
Well, I
world.
can't talk about specific recruits, but it was a pretty awesome. Uh,
Right. Sorry. Yeah. Because yep. Got it.
so once a 2026 guy signs in November, that we can really get into specifics. But obviously, it's an exciting time for Virginia Tech, and you know it's been a long time coming. I mean, we've been second on a lot of big time recruits, and to to be which sucks, second sucks when especially
Yeah. Yeah.
when it comes to recruiting. So so yeah, it's an exciting time. I think we do a great job of selling what we have here in Blacksburg, and our team, our culture, our staff, the whole 9 yards. And we're just, we're excited for what has taken place over the last couple of weeks. And it's something that we're just like I said about other recruits and guys that are on the team, it's just beginning. Like the relationship part obviously is starts June 15th of their junior year, but it just continues to just build and build. And that's what I think, having a staff of legit, like, good people that are gonna, we're gonna do what's best for our guys and for our recruits. And it's not a song and dance. We're not used car salesmen. We're here for the long haul. And the longer we can recruit you before you're stepping on campus, that works in our favor, because we want to build those relationships that are super strong, that there's loyalty. And we have guys coming to Blacksburg that want to be here. It's not just because we sold a cheap suit to them, and it's not going to last.
Yeah.
So yeah, exciting times, and the future
Yes.
very
Yes.
bright in Blacksburg and all that good stuff.
Yes. Yes. Sorry. Yeah. I forgot
I got
that.
a smile on my face for a couple of reasons.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Then lastly here, wrestling is a big part of your life, but I also am interested here. When you need a break from wrestling, how do you take a step back and reset yourself? We always worry about the wrestlers and how they reset and take a break, but coaches need that break too. So like, um, what are some things you do to just, all right, I need a break from wrestling. I need a reset. Here's what I do.
Yeah, no, I the simple part of it is unplugging. I got two beautiful daughters, and being able to hang out with them. And we got a golf cart. I live a half mile from campus, so we
No
cruise
kidding.
around that golf cart a lot. It's like, it's like a jet ski. Like, if you're driving, you're usually got a smile on your face if you're driving a golf cart. So we get around, and I do a lot of stuff with my daughters, and that just brings everything full circle, and makes everything right. Same thing with my wife. A lot of date nights and that type of stuff. But when I really have to, like, all right, I got to get out of town or whatnot, we typically fly back to Florida, and we get these like $65 flights, Allegiant flights from
Nice.
Roanoke to pretty much our hometown, which is great. So I can fly, we can fly everybody home for $600 round trip. So I go home and do some fishing, and just kind of get on the water somehow. That salt life is real for me especially, and I think for my family. So we like to get on the water some way, somehow, get to the beach. That's our unplugging. If I can have a fishing rod in my hand, that's typically what happens.
Yeah. What about surfing or wakeboarding? Was that ever?
Yeah, well, definitely I like it. There's a lake that we have some friends that I do a lot of the wake surfing and wakeboarding, trying to get away from the wakeboarding because locked into the board, I like to try to do too many tricks and I end up hurting myself. So,
Yeah.
but this whole new wakeboarding fad's kind of fun, or not the wakeboarding, the wake surfing. So that's exciting.